Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to another time here, another time at the book club. And it's an awesome day for us. We're going to start on a new book today. It's our sixth book in the series. And it's The Good Life. Right? We've talked a lot about it for a few weeks now, trying to introduce it. And we're going to start it today. It's our sixth book in the series. And we're going to take it. So welcome to another time. Welcome to the second half of 2023. Trust that you're well set to finish this year strong. I trust the first half of the year was great and the second half year will be greater. That's my desire for you. And it's one of the reasons we do this also is just so that we can all do life together, right? Encourage one another in the part of life. Yes, on our home, we can do a lot, but together we can do a whole lot much more, right? That's why I didn't just come here to talk from what I already know. I'm also using this time, this opportunity to grow my own self also. Like I say, it's a selfish opportunity for me to read books, because I run such a tight schedule. It's not that easy for me to read. But with the book club, I'm forced to read. Right, as I come to do this time, it's also an opportunity for me to read and research on the topic that has been said. So before I get to come talk here, I learn. Even while I'm talking, I'm learning because I am the first person that hears every single thing that I say. Right. So even if nobody comes along, this is still it's gonna go on, right? Because the first audience, the first participant is myself. And for as long as I am getting blessed, this is going to go on. All right. Every other person is a add-on. Right. So this is a selfish adventure to bless myself. Right. So if any other one gets blessed along with me, great. If nobody, great. So thanks for coming. It's a privilege. It's an honor to do this. Well, thank God for the journey we've come, right? I've been doing this since, believe that's February. We've been doing this since February, yes, February 2021, so we're in our third year right now doing this. We'll pass the 2-year mark, so we're learning, we're growing, we're getting better at this, you see. I come and do this as if I've always done this all my life. I've always been this way all my life. I wasn't born this way. I didn't grow up this way. But the more I do this, the more I get to know how to do it. The more I get to be flexible around that. Just like this morning, I was exercising, right? And I did my, I exercise 3 days a week, right, on the morning. So I pretty much do Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday, and have different exercise regimen for them. But somehow I caught myself doing my Thursday exercise today, which was okay. I don't normally do that, but I was already into it. So I pretty much just continued and finished it. But, it's a Taekwondo routine that I do on Thursdays that I did today. And I saw myself, being able to do the kicks better. I do side kicks, right, on both legs. And I could do it a whole lot more better than I used to when I started. I could go 20 kicks without bringing the leg down. I wasn't born that way. Right? I've gained fluency by doing it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Someone sees me doing it today, they'll probably say, wow. No, it ain't all from heaven. It came from practice. It came from an application of myself. That's just the same way about every other thing in life, right? You're going to gain mastery by repetition. Right, it's not anointing. Don't let anybody deceive you. Don't go waste your money giving an offering for it. You got to do it. You got to apply yourself, right? As Aristotle says, excellence comes from doing. You got to repeat it. You get better at doing it, So All right, enough of my my pitch talk. Let's go into what we have today, which is going to be an introduction into our sixth book, The Good Life. The Good Life, right? And we're starting off today with that. Pretty much like we've introduced over the weeks. It's written by two guys, right? Robert Waldinger and Marc Schulz, Schools, right? And they pretty much work at the Adult Development Center at Harvard, and it's been a study that's been going on, and they're about the fourth generation coming to that study. It's on the 5-year plus study that's been going on, looking at definite people and seeing how their life responds to the parameters set, all in a bid to learn what it takes to have a meaningful life, And so we're going to eavesdrop into all the things they've learned and see how we can apply it into our own individual lives, that our lives can be better. This is not theory, this is practical that has been studied in these lives. And hopefully then we can apply it into the specific nature of our life and we can gain the benefit for it, right? That's what we're set to do here, So when I break it down like I do, it will come with a title, happiness. That would be the topic we would hit it with as we break it further down in the sharings, But let's go on here. And pretty much, we always look at our schedule, right? And so today we're doing an introduction. I think chapter 1, when I first quickly looked at it, is something that's going to take us at least 3 weeks to do, right? It might be 2, I don't know. But like I always say, we will not drag it. We will not hurry through it. We'll give it the time it takes to get all that there is in to learn, to learn, to absorb, and to be able to practice in our life. We're going to get the benefit of the book, the benefit of reading it, the benefit of coming into contact with it, right? We're not just going to pass through. We're going to absorb all that there is in there, that our life will know that we read the book, right? So we'll give it the time it takes. If it means 5 weeks to do one chapter, that's what we will do, right? But it will be that we're getting something out of it. We're not going to have a drag. We're not going to hurry, right? So that's where we have it scheduled right now. So, the book starts with this 3 questions. What makes for a good life? And really, that's the title of chapter 1. So we'll talk more about it next week. So the big question is, what makes for a good life? How do you define a good life? And in our introduction to the book, over time, we've looked at this from different angles, right? What is a good life? What is a good life? Coming from what I've learned from one of my mentors, L. Nightingale, we talk about success, right? Success is different from everyone. Success for everyone is attaining to that goal that you have set for yourself, right? There's no other definition like that. You are successful if you are living up to your goal. Now, whether your goal is high or low, that's a different thing altogether, right? If you shoot low and get it, you're successful. But does it make you happy? Big question, right? So a good life is a life that you are happy about. A good life for me, like I was sharing with a few folks at work last week, is being able to live a quiet, peaceable life on my own terms, right? A good life for me is being able to live a quiet, peaceable life on my own terms. That is what a good life represents to me. That might have different definition for any other person. For some other person, a good life is being able to travel around the world. Another person, a good life is being able to hike. A good life is being able to live sports or something. Whatever that is for you, there is a quotient there that typically will come out that you are happy. You cannot be sad and say you have a good life. A good life is one on which you are happy living it. Take away happiness, for me, it is not a good life. No sorrowful life is a good life, right? And that goes back to our first book when we looked at the 4 purposes of life. The purpose, the intent of life is to be happy. If you're not happy, you are not fulfilling the purpose of life, right? God did not give you a purpose that will make you unhappy. If it's God that's giving you that purpose, you must be happy. You must find joy, happiness in it, even though it might not relate to what you want. There must be a joy, happiness in being fulfilled or meeting up to the master's bidding, right? So the purpose of life is to be happy. A good life is a life that fulfills purpose, which means a good life is one that has happiness inside of it. Well, I guess some people might have different other meaning to it. You don't agree with me, feel free. We can share, drop me a note on YouTube. We can discuss, or wherever you're listening to this. That I am 56 years old, right, this year. And I've been a Christian the last 40 years, right? I've been married the last 25 years. That ought to count for something. Right? According to my pilgrimage, that's the answer. According to this book, which is a 75-year study, 75-year plus study, probably at 77 now, that is the answer. So if you think you have a better wisdom, let's share, let's talk, right? So the purpose of life, so the question, the other question the book poses is, what makes for a fulfilling and satisfying life, which is the same thing as good life, like we just said, or happy life, and all three questions have the same answer. And pretty much they go beyond just talking about happy, because happy is part of a question. It's saying that the answer really is relationships, right? And everything God has for us as a purpose is to the intent that will make an impact on another or other human beings. I always say this: when I went to management school, if there's only one thing I learned, it is Peter Drucker saying that the essence of any organism is not within the organism, but outside of the organism. The essence of every human being is not within that human being, but outside of that human being. Everything interaction that takes place on the inside of every organism is for the intent of the way it impacts its environment. You cannot have happiness. You cannot be fulfilled. You cannot have a good life if you are not positively interacting with your environment. Positively interacting with your environment. That means you are giving the right stimulus to your environment, and you are receiving the right feedback or stimulus from the environment, right? There's got to be positive exchange, right? And that's one of the things the study found out, that the quality of relationships is what makes for a good life. The quality of relationship is what makes for a fulfilling and satisfying life. The quality of relationship is what makes for a happy life. The quality of relationship is what helps us to fulfill purpose, our reason of existence, our reason of being here. You cannot do life alone. It will only result in depression. We're not created to be loners. And that's one of the things the study learned from the book, and we'll discuss as we go through the book, right? That loneliness is living on the edge of depression. One small thing happens, it can just tilt you the wrong side. You're already, it's like we'll say pre-diabetic, you're already pre-depression. You only need one small shake and you fall in depression. You need to have a positive interaction with other people. And those other people don't have to be perfect. Relate with them the way you can relate with them. The key thing is the positivity. It doesn't have to be a perfect overlap, right? Whatever overlap is, enjoy that part overlap, right? But you have to relate with other people. You cannot do life on your own. There's something you are supposed to give to others. There are things you're supposed to receive from others to bless you. You are here to be a blessing to others, and you are also here to be blessed. It is not enough to bless others. It is important that you are blessed also, right? And that reminds me again, like what we define what a healthy relationship is, right? A classical definition of a healthy relationship is one in which, right, the people come together because of what they can give, not what they can get. A lot of people come together because of what they can give. Small time, you've known someone, you don't even know what's going on. The person's life, you're asking for money, you're asking for this or that. That's immature, right? Come into a relationship because of what you can give. You are not useless. You are not a tree. You are not animal. There's something you can give. Whatever interaction, the relationship become to come with the intent to be a blessing, not a taker. Not a parasite, not a useless person. A healthy relationship is one in which people come together because of what they can give. They can give. There's something you can give. It doesn't have to be money. It can be time. It can be talent. It can be connection. It can just be your intellect, whatever. But don't go into any relationship to get. Go in with what you can give. Give. Giving is the password to life, not taking. Giving is a password to life, not taking. Don't see yourself useless. Go into every relation with the intent to give, to be a blessing. So a healthy relationship is one which they come together because of what they can give. However, what keeps them together is not what they give, but what they get. That's what we call the paradox. It's a paradox. But it's true. It's a paradox of healthy relationship. What keeps people together is not what they give, it's what they get. Right? There's no altruism in life. Everybody does what they do for what they get. That sounds right contradictory to the first thing I said, right? But it's not. It's called the yin and the yang of life. The yin are two seemingly opposing principles that reinforce themselves. It's the yin and the yang of life, right? You must never go into any relationship because of what you can get. But don't hold yourself back from what it gives you, because what will keep that relationship going is not what you are giving, it's what you are getting in it. As much as you go into it to get, always also be open yourself to receive. Receive whatever it is that God wants to give to you through that relationship. Otherwise, you are going to be emptied out. What you give does not fill you. What you get is what fills you. You don't eat by giving. When you give, there's much of something you are receiving that's filling you, that's filling your tank. Otherwise, you will dry up. So a healthy relationship is one in which you go into not because of what you can get, but what you can give. But what keeps it together is what you get, not what you give. You just need to understand the giving and the getting. Right? You go to give with intention. You go to give with intention to give, not to receive. But you should be open to receive whatsoever it is that is provided for you in that relationship to fill your tank. You are not God. Even God he receives. That's why he receives worship. He receives praise. That fills God's tank up. You are not better than God. You are not here just to give. You are not arrived enough that you can receive. And obviously, you can understand that when I'm talking about giving and receiving here, I'm talking about both tangible, intangible, physical, metaphysical. It doesn't matter. For as long as you are giving, you are receiving, right? Some giving is physical. Some giving is just metaphysical. Some giving is both. Some receiving is physical. Some receiving is metaphysical. Some giving is both. allow the interplay, because we need them whole. Don't forget, we're not just one natured, right? We have we're a spirit, we have a soul, we live in a body. All our giving comes from all of those realms. All our receiving comes from all of those realms, right? What fills us is what fills the totality of our being, not just our spirit, not just our soul, not just our body. You have to be open to receive from the totality of your being, right? Let's move on. All right. So strong relationships make for a good life, right? It's not just relationship, it's the quality of the relationship. So if you want to have a good life, you need to have a strong relationship. You need to have a good relationship, because it also helps you, in your health. Also, it affects your health, right? So it's all kinds of relationship, not just one. It could be relationship between father and son, father and daughter, husband and wife, siblings, uncle, auntie, worker, church, all the different places you find yourself where there are linkages, right? I got to go out this evening. My elementary school classmate, as our daughter's introduction today, right? And this is from 1978, right? So how many years is that? That's about 45 years ago, right? From 1978. Now, will I be correct? Yeah, about 45 years ago. That's how long the relationship comes from. But you see, that gives you life. That gives you life. It's not limited to just people you meet today and all of that, So 45 years ago, I got the privilege of being at a daughter's introduction today. And that gives you life. Like that gives you the essence of living, the essence of being, right? Let's go on. All right. So the good life brings together, that's this book, brings together science and personal stories to show how connections with others build a foundation for our well-being. So that's the book. The book brings science, also brings personal stories. There've been people that have been studied for more than 75 years, so all of that together will bring from different places, so we can get a robust learning. That's what the book provides us, right? So the book itself contains 10 chapters, right? And so the first chapter, like I said, is what makes for a good life. So that's what we're going to discuss in the third chapter. And like I said, that might take us up to anywhere from 2 to 5 weeks. We'll see. Then number 2 talks about why relationships matter, right? And chapter 3 talks about relationships on the winding road of life, And 4 talks about social fitness, keeping your relationship in good shape, right? What it takes to make sure your relationship is in the right place, right? Not too close, not too far, whatever it takes. We'll talk about different dynamics of relationship, in that wise, And chapter 5, we're going to be talking about the attention to relationship, how we nurture, we nurture, we attend to, we cultivate our relationship to get the best benefit out of it. So we're talking about nurturing, cultivating, attending to our relationship, in chapter 5, So in chapter 6, we're going to be talking about facing the music, right? Adapting to challenges and relationship, right? We'll talk about that. I'm going to share my own life experience. I probably have a lot, how to dance to the different music, as relationship could play tricks on you, So we'll look at that in chapter 6. In chapter 7, we'll look at the person beside you, right? Which will pretty much be your spouse, or any other kind of relationship that's intimate, how intimate relationships affect our lives, different people, have their proximity, closeness to you, and those that are closest to you can more easily hurt you than people that are far away from you, right? So anybody you allow into your inner circle can hurt you bad because your nerves are exposed to those people as compared to people outside, you know. And as I said a lot about that in when I was out overseas working, you know, had all my guards up, right? I had my guards up, so it was easy for me to protect myself, you know, from being hurt, you know. But I get back here and I thought I was back home, and I threw all my guards down, and there was a devil, you know, at work trying to hunt me down. People told us people that are supposed to be my friends, you know, those could really hurt bad, you know. So we'll talk about some of those in chapter 7. You know, chapter 8, we talk about family. Family is all you got. You know, I remember a colleague, you know, who was working in the UK, you know, and just before he arrived, you know, things changed the name, you know, and he recalls that incident, you know, how much what made a difference for him was his wife, right? When every other thing is gone, those that will stay with you are the people you call family. Sometimes they could be blood relations, sometimes they could not, you know, but family are those that stay closest to you, you know, and they are not there because of what you can give. They're there just because you are you, right? And we'll talk about that in chapter 8. In chapter 9, it talks about the good life at work, investing in connections at work. You know, I just gave an example about work, and we'll talk more about that in the workplace, you know, how to relate to different people, and how to nurture and those relationships, you know, but know the ones put at bay, don't know where to place each one, because that's important, you know. Life is not for the simple. Yes, we need to simplify life, but life is not for the simple. If you are simple, you will not make it in life. You will not make it in life. You are simple, right? Life is not for the simple. So you need to be aware of life to overcome life, right? So, and in closing, in chapter 10, we'll talk about all friends have benefits, right? And that's just what we earlier spoke about, as we spoke about the definition, or the classical definition of a healthy relationship, right? So we'll close that, and probably there's a summary section, yeah, where we talk about it's never too late to be happy, right? It's never too late to be happy. No matter how old you are, you can always be happy, right? Happiness is not happiness is a decision. It's a personal decision. So it's not tied to any particular location. It's not tied to any particular person. You know, those are myths. It's not tied to location. It's not tied to a place. It's not tied to any particularity. It's only tied to you. You are your happiness. You are your happiness, because happiness is a personal decision. It's a personal responsibility. It's a personal adventure. It's a personal venture. And we'll talk more about that. All right. We're going to look at some quotes in closing today, and some quotes that have been put in together along with this journey. And we'll probably look a bit more close at some of them as we go on the journey. But today, let's do an introduction to these quotes, right? It says, Socrates says, not life, but good life is to be chiefly valued. It's not about just life, just life. You don't just want just life. You want a good life, a good life, a good life, a good life. You want to stay in a good place that you have classified as good for yourself. You want to ride a good car. You want to live in a good place, we said. You want to be able to, you want to have good children who go to good schools, who grow good, you know, and have good professions, you know. You need to set what good is for you. You need to set for yourself what makes for a good life. When you are on your dying bed, when you're on your dying bed, what kind of life would you consider that you have lived a good life? You need to have a picture of that, and ask yourself, what do I need to begin to do today so that I can get to that result? If you don't do that, it will not happen. Good life does not happen by chance. It's not a happenstance. It is something that you create and you bring into existence by a structured plan and a definite action, right, towards it, right? If you don't do that, it will not happen, right? So it's about having a good life, not just life, right? And the second one talks about, this is how Dennis Watley puts it this way. He says, a good life is a collection of happy moments, right? As much as I want to have a good life when I die, right? That good life is going to come into existence every moment, every second that I find myself, right? Right now, I am having a part of what I consider to be a good life. Years ago, I wrote down for myself, being a teacher, I want to be able to do this. I want to be able to teach you, bless people, and I want to be so fluent. I made a decision not to use big English that speaks over people's head, but to say things that a small child can understand, be able to break things down to the smallest, way it can be. Understanding is my drive because I am a teacher, right? So every moment, I am creating, I am adding to what a good life is for me, right? And the third one says, the good life is built with good relations, right? That's what Robert Waldinger said, right? A good life cannot be without relations, right? My good life that I've just described right now is because I have this privilege to share this with you, right? You can imagine me saying this to myself. It won't be as good as me being able to say to you. That makes it good, right? That makes it good that I have the privilege to say to you and you can be blessed. That is why it is a good life for me, right? And the last one on the slide says the good life is one inspired by love, guarded by knowledge, by Bernard Russell. A good life is inspired by love from your heart, but don't leave your head behind. Listen to your heart. Be motivated by your heart. Let your heart lead you, but don't leave your head behind. Your heart is not your head. Your head is not your heart. You have to set the right boundaries. If you don't set the right boundaries, you won't get a good life. People will abuse your love. People will abuse your love. People will abuse your good nature. You will regret your loving if you don't have knowledge, if you don't have understanding. Again, we talk about people divorcing. People don't divorce because they stop loving. They divorce because they lack knowledge, they lack understanding, they lack wisdom. They don't lack love. What they lack is the ability, the knowledge, the understanding of how to live with one another. That's what they lack. They don't lack the love. A good number that divorce don't lack the love. They just don't understand how to stay in a small place together. Talk more about that. Let's go on. All right. On my last slide, last two quotes here. So Carl Rogers says a good life is a process. It's not just going to come one day. It's a process. Don't forget, I just named that big process on my dying bed today. That's the in-between. The in-between is a process. You grow into it. You learn, you apply, you grow into it. You grow into it. I'm able to say this because of what I've learned. But I'm not done yet. I'm still learning. I'm growing. Right? I'm going to learn a lot from this book. I'm going to learn a lot from this discussion and become even better than I've always been. Right? It's a process. Right? It's a process. And we have to keep on pressing until our dying day. Remember Michelangelo on his dying bed said, I am still learning. That is my plan. On my dying bed, I'm going to say, I am still learning. I'm not going to get to a place where I think I've learned it all. Oh, no, I'm not a dinosaur. No. On my dying bed, I want to still be able to say, I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm still getting better. And lastly, Germany, Kant says, convince yourself every day that you're worthy of a good life. Wow! I want to shout. Because if you don't believe it, you will not walk at it. If you don't walk at it, you will not arrive at it. You have to believe that you deserve it enough to push for it. You have to have enough sense of yourself to want it and to go for it. Don't be a prisoner of your circumstance. Don't be a prisoner of your situation. Don't be a prisoner of your location. Don't be a prisoner of your birth. You can have a good life irrespective of what your past has been. You have to believe that you're worthy of it. Your creator says you're worthy of it. Picture it, and let's begin to walk towards it, right? So let go of stress, breathe, stay positive, and all is well. All right. Thank you. That's all I got for today. I look forward to a great study together. God bless you. Have a great week and a great month of July. See you next week. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.